Hello, my name is Kurt Kemden, and today I'd like to make a video for you showing you how you could use ResponsiBid without actually having a website, some of the neat hacks or tricks that you could do there, as well as even some other tricks that would involve sort of like different tracking strategies that you could use and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started with the scenario that you don't have a website. So you could actually install the smartform or the Lightbox on a website normally. And the way the Lightbox works is it actually opens this up and you can select and move through it that way. Or in the case I think makes the most sense for the scenario I'm talking about is just sharing on Facebook or social media a link to your smartform. It seems to lend itself better to mobile situations in all cases, but also it puts all the content in one area and makes more of a content area of a page. Looks better on desktop, looks better on mobile, and everything else. So let's say you can't put this on your website. What are you going to do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to Settings and go to the Installation area. And then I'm going to go to the Smartform and I'm going to take this URL for source, SRC. Now I'm not going to grab those two slashes, I'm just going to grab that section there and I'm going to hit copy and then I'm going to go up to my URL bar and I'm going to paste that. Now don't worry when you get here, we're in the middle of a hack, so you just need this URL here. This is the JavaScript that runs and part of what it's running is this var source URL. So I'm going to go ahead now and copy that. And I'm going to paste that into the URL bar. Now, this standalone, you could share this link. It's an ugly link, granted. You saw how long and ugly it is. So we could even go one step further and go to bit.ly, bit.ly, and we could paste our ugly URL and copy our prettier URL. So that could be part of your hack. And now as you share that URL and people click it, they'll be taken to this page. The problem with this page is that it's made to be embedded in a site that you already have all your branding and everything in. So that's not very good because this almost looks weird, like I'm on this person's site, but I don't even know who they are. So there's a couple other hacks that you can use to get around that. If you go to your form builder and scroll to the very bottom, you'll see that there's an area called custom code injection. Now, there is a warning in here, and that is that using invalid or bad HTML or JavaScript, either one, could totally ruin everything. So you want to be careful. But let me describe what each of these areas does. So you have the option of injecting code in with your Lightbox and Smartform, and you have the option to inject code into your proposal. Now, you only have two options in your proposal, but you have a few options, you have four in your Smartform Lightbox. So in the form head, that in HTML world is the code that exists on the page that tells the browser how to open the page, but it's not visible on the page, basically. Now you can put coding stuff in here that would make it so that you actually were able to style, for example, the inputs. Maybe you don't like the way that the inputs on the page look. For example, right here. Maybe you want those check boxes or radio buttons to look a little different. And you know how to do developer stuff and find the items on the buttons and you want to do some styling. You would do that inside of the head. You could do style adjustments on different elements. So that's cool, but you know what really is cool is that you actually could, and I'll show you an example here. Here's an example of a style input that just changes the background color of the body. Okay. Now you can do lots of other stuff, but you know what else you can do is you could do stuff regarding Bing tracking or like Bing browser tracking. I think Facebook Pixel actually even allows different. Yeah, definitely Facebook Pixel goes in the head of the page, so you can do Facebook Pixel tracking if you wanted to, and that would go for anything. This actually will work if you're embedding it on the page. It'll work if you're taking other people to it. And I'm just going to save that real quick. And I'm going to go back to this page and I'm going to refresh it. So you can see I changed the background color of this, but if I was embedding it in a page inside of a little iframe, you would see that around this will be your normal website, but then behind the form area, you would see that the body has become blue. So, in fact, just, well, I don't have this installed anywhere at the moment, but I'll just go ahead and say sweet carpet cleaning. Oops. Okay, and let's go to the smartform. So in this case, you would see that it would be white over here, but blue, it would be blue behind it to match this sort of new change that would be made in the head or the style for the background color. Now, lots of stuff that you do here will be invisible, so that's that tracking stuff. Now the form header, I'm going to throw in here an example of what you might do if you didn't have a website. You might throw in a portion that's in the HTML body portion, but now we're talking about actually making stuff that's visible. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and I'm going to go back over to this page and refresh it. And you can see that now I have a logo, I have a header, an H1 tag that I put in here, and I've even customized the colors of it. So that is how that field works. In the form footer, which is still in the HTML area, you can also put lots of other styling stuff. In fact, if I just pasted that in there again and I click save, you would notice that when I refresh the page, not only do I have the header, but I just added something to the footer, which just happens to be exactly the same. So the form before body closing tag, this is HTML and JavaScript. This would be an example of what Google Analytics does, or anything that requires JavaScript or anything to be installed right before the closing body tag. It's still an HTML area, and you actually could install HTML in here. But as a practice, this is just really important to note that it's going to be the last thing that happens before the body tag, which is really important for some of those trackers out there. Yes, we already do have a Google Analytics ID that you can put in, and it'll accomplish a similar goal. But this will let you get really specific about any AdWords tracking code that you want to put in or anything like that. So that can become extremely useful for not just making a landing page, but also for making a good tracking page. Now, why does the proposal have these two areas? So the head is available to you in the proposal, and the body closing tag, right before the closing tag, is available to you in the proposal. And what that means is that as the person is either on your website or on a, so if it's embedded in your website or if they have it standalone, either way, they're going to be able to now have very specific tracking and goal tags if you put them in here for your AdWords or AdSense or, well, not probably AdSense, but different trackers, Facebook pixel goal conversions, and all sorts of other stuff that you can do now. So this area very probably normally would be used with invisible tracking code, but I thought it would be worth noting that you can be able to put visible stuff and actually make a page that's sort of styled the way you want it to be. Now, there are some downsides, and you should know that if you go to your smartphone now and you try to embed that on your website, once you've added this header and this footer, which by the way, why do we not allow this header to be installed on the proposal or the footer? Well, the footer you could do through the JavaScript area if you wanted to, but we already on the proposal have all of your branding taken care of. If you go into a proposal, you'll see that you've already got your logo and different stuff going on there. So it becomes a lot less useful. But when you embed it on your website, it probably won't make a lot of sense to do a lot of headers. So you want to be careful here. Either you are going to style it as if it's standing alone, or you're going to embed it and probably leave most of the styling alone and not go crazy here. So that all said, that is all the new opportunity and availability to you to be able to use some hacks that we don't necessarily support, but could be extremely useful for people who are extremely, maybe their hands are tied given certain scenarios in their business or how their web strategy runs, and this will allow them to operate accordingly. So hope that was helpful for you, and enjoy the code injection area of ResponsiBid.